It says follow the idea that you talk about.
Now, I would like to request our founder managing director, Ms. Noor Aisha, to say a few words.
May peace and blessings of the Almighty be upon you all. Um, Before I begin, Gavin, I'm so sorry, I'm going to take a few moments, steal a few moments rather, from your session because I'm going to seize this opportunity to, really thank my mentors, my teachers, in fact. Right? Um, Today I stand before you with a heart full of gratitude role in shaping my life. Each of you has been a guiding light, a source of inspiration, and a pillar of support on my journey of growth and self-discovery. I cannot adequately express the depth of my appreciation for the profound impact you have had on me. Saeed uncle and Sadat Ali Khan uncle, as I call them dearly, you both have been an integral part of IQRA right from its inception. Throughout my journey, you have generously shared your wisdom, knowledge, and experience, providing me with invaluable guidance. Your willingness to impart your expertise has nurtured my intellectual curiosity and fueled my desire to learn and grow. Your prestigious the Bangalore Academy. Contrary to TBA's reputation of admitting only the toppers, I came looking for admission with not so great scores. I still remember, Basha sir, you told me that my scores weren't great yet. And yet you took me in. I don't know what you saw in me that day, that you went against the academy's reputation and made this exception to take me in. I hope that that exception that you made was not in vain and that I made you proud. Ashraf Ali sir, your kind and patient personality made you my role model, and I've always admired and adored you all through my life. You've been a part of my duas since you've taught me, as I always pray for my teachers after I pray for my parents. You have instilled in me the importance of integrity, perseverance, and resilience. Dearest mentors, including Anu Maunga ma'am and Gavin McCormack, you have shown me the power of empathy, kindness, compassion, and selfless social service. Your unwavering commitment to my personal and professional development has not only shaped my character but has also inspired me to become a mentor myself, paying forward the. I want to express my deepest gratitude for the impact you have on my life beyond the realm of knowledge and skills. You have not only been mentors but also role models and father figures. Your genuine care and support have made all the difference. Although our mundane schedule may not have given me many opportunities to tell tell this more often, I'll take this opportunity to say that I'm truly fortunate to have you all impact my life in some way or the other. In conclusion, I extend my sincerest gratitude to all my mentors for the profound impact you have had.
I now request our esteemed chief guest, Ms. Anu Munga, to kindly grace the stage and share a few words with us.
How will do? Actually, the thing is, it's little.
Good morning. It's so nice to be here, and I really appreciate that I've been invited by all of you, especially you, my friend. I totally believe in Gavin's way of knowledge. Now, it's not so much as learning as it is knowledge. And times have changed, and there are new spaces. Teachers are more facilitators than teachers, and the child really, she also spoke at TIC. TIC is the Association of International Schools India, But now we've added and more, that we are also helping CBSE schools and ICSE schools. It's a great platform. It's not one of those prize-giving platforms. It's one of those platforms where really learning comes to taking back something from each conference. And this is what Gavin is here for. He spoke at IC. Unfortunately, it was pandemic, so he had to go on Zoom. But I was always nervous till the last minute. Is he going to come on? Is he going to come on? Because he travels so much, as I wonder where he is now. But my belief is that every child listens to a different drama, and you have to change, otherwise you'll all become casualties of that change. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And now I invite Mr. Gavin to take over the stage and enlighten us with the transformative power of education.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Really nice to be here. Thank you everybody for coming. Some people have travelled very far and I appreciate it greatly. I remember this year, 2016, I went to IQRA International School. I met him. He was a kindergarten child when you were tiny, I remember. But it's nice to see a young student here reciting the Quran. It was so beautiful. Your tajweed was perfect. Not that I am to judge. Before we begin, I have to say a few things, really important things. You are all teachers, majority teachers. I am also a teacher, just a teacher. So this morning you heard the words here introduced about me, but actually the reality is all those words are just clouds in the sky floating by. Because we're all equal, I know just as much as you. I'm not here to tell you how to teach at all. You can ignore everything I'm about to say. That's not a problem. The mission is to try to bring more students like this young man who have the confidence and the independence to do something new. The world is in a real pickle right now. We've got floods, famines, wars, forests are depleting, we've got problems all over the world, and the secret and the key to solving those problems is this guy, not you, not me. We're the problem. We've caused the problem. We haven't taken care of the planet. Unfortunately, we just haven't. But it's his future that's in our hands. And we can't solve the problem, but we can empower him, or people like him, to go out there in the world and be leaders the leaders we want to see. We don't have those leaders now. We have corruption, we have all these terrible things happening in the world, because the children who came out of our schools went into a society or an environment which is toxic. And we've got to make sure that his future is safe. That's our duty. Our duty is to do that. So I'm here today to talk to you, and we'll see how it goes. The time has gone very quickly. But today's presentation is not going to be me just talking to you for 2 hours, because that would be hypocritical. I'm about to tell you about dynamic teaching skills, and one of those is not talking for 2 hours. So I want to make it interactive, but I also want to make it in a way that you walk away from this with a plan. You have a plan for the next 12 months for yourself, a personal plan, but also you have loads of resources. So you'll see on the screen loads of QR codes are going to appear, right? I've spent a long time making this presentation for you because I want you to go away with loads of resources. So when you see a QR code, hold up your phone and a resource will download onto your telephone. They can go and access anything and you. There's not a cupboard that says teachers only don't touch. Everything is yes. Everything is available all of the time. And if it's not, you take it out of the classroom. Because that classroom doesn't belong to you, it belongs to every single person in that room. And the minute you give collective responsibility to everybody in your room, you will see that things will change. We talked about changing your classroom to make it into a room where everybody can learn, moving your tables. This will shock you, maybe, but it's going to enlighten you slightly. It comes from Montessori pedagogy and philosophy, and I'm glad to see a Montessori teacher here in the crowd, which is great. But this is one of the revelations that she discovered, which is amazing, and shows you that lots of schools around the world are actually failing at the moment. You have 4 types of learners in your classroom. We know auditory, kinesthetic, visual, we know these ones. These have been going around for 500 years. But what we don't know, until now, very recently, last 100 years or so, is you have 4 types of children who like to learn in different ways. Let me tell you about these types of learners. The first one is your isolated learner. Isolation sounds like something of punishment. You're in isolation, you're in trouble. But you have children, they don't want to talk to anybody, they don't want to communicate, they don't want to work in pairs, they don't want to work in groups. They want to come in at 8 o'clock, work on their own, facing the wall, they don't want to see anything, they want to work hard, and they want to go home. You probably have teachers in your school who don't come to the staff room, they don't get involved in chit-chat, they don't talk about gossip. They come in and they leave. They do their job really well. You'll know this, Aisha, and then they go home. You've got children in your class like that. But is there a space for them to learn? Have you got a table with 1 seat, with 1 table, facing the wall, with no stimulants, where your child has undiagnosed sensory processing disorder, he doesn't know it, but you're forcing him to sit in the middle of the class, in a pair, talking, looking at the back of 20 other heads? He's not going to learn a thing. Very important. Your parallel learner. Children who like to work together, 2 people, they're best friends, they're doing the same work at the same time, they even have the same color t-shirt, same pencils, you know these kids, and they write the same letter at the same time. When they're coloring their picture in, they use the same color, they color it identical to the person next to them. It's a parallel learner. A table with 2 children who can work together, and they are a support network for each other. If one is missing, there's a big problem, because one child falls down. You're very unsure, very unconfident, but I don't mind getting it wrong if you get it wrong too. These are called parallel learners. You have a space for these children. Do you allow the children to choose where they sit, or do you tell them? Let them choose. They'll tell you what kind of learner they are. You're a cooperative learner. 2 children who work together, not at the same level, they don't do the same thing, but they want to sit together because they are best friends, and that is it. They're a comfort blanket for each other. And your last is your collaborative, a group. A group of children working together where a leader develops and you have lots of followers. Do you have a space for these people too? There's a terrible noise coming in here, brother. So, take a look at this. Is this working? Yeah. Take a look at this. Yes? Can you hear? No. Hello? Brother? Anybody? Okay, I'll just speak, you can hear me while he's fixing it. Check out the left-hand side. That's my school in Australia. You can see no teacher. You can't see the teacher. The teacher's actually working behind the bookshelf with 1 child. All the children are on their own, moving around, talking, standing, chatting. There's a lot of learning taking place, a lot of learning. These children are only 5. Look at them, all independent, all working effectively. Thank you, sir. Sorry about that. On the right-hand side, that is the head office of Airbnb in San Francisco, a multi-billion-dollar company with the most creative minds in the world. Does your classroom prepare your children to go into that world? Or does it prepare them to go in a world where they're sitting in rows, fingers on lips, the principal is coming? That's not the real world. The real world is on the right-hand side. Wikipedia, Amazon, Google, SpaceX, all of these companies look like that. Freedom, movement, choice, agency. Where can you sit? Why do you want to sit there? There are very limited rules of freedom and limits. Can you make your room, your school, do you have a space for this to happen? You might not be able to change your classroom when you get back and throw all the tables out the window. That's not a possibility. Can you make a space in your school where this is a thing? Where you can go and this will happen once or twice a week? It's very important. F is for freedom. Freedom of choice, freedom of independence. In a purposeful classroom, children are free to choose their own activities, work, space, and pace. I'm not saying throw the curriculum out the window, because they need to have guidance on that, but what I am saying is give them some parameters of what's possible and what's not. And here's a good way to start your process. In many schools you see school rules, and these are do not, do not, do not, do not. Do not run, do not talk, do not swear, do not curse, do not be mean. These are just a load of rules. What about if you said to the children, hey, what kind of classroom do you want to be in? What would make you proud? What's our culture? Look at those. We will only use kind words. We keep people's secrets. And the children decide on the rules of their culture, not you. They determine what they want to be part of, and you make them proud of being that. When you come to IQRA, when you walk around and people say, where do you work? You say, I work at IQRA, International School. Yes! And you're proud, because you know that your culture is good. You know that you have a good ethos, a good mantra. Your leadership is good. You're doing it for the right reasons. Because your culture's right. You've devised your philosophy together. What about your children? Let them tell you what classroom they want to be part of. And then they'll be proud of that. And they won't fall down. Those rules will always be in place. We call them rules. They're not really rules. It's more of a cultivated philosophy of your room. G is for grace and courtesy. This means being polite, having good manners, being a good person, I heard someone's running a VBE school, a value-based education school. Having values. What are your values in your classroom? What do they look like and how do we operate? How can we do it? You're the key. Children are watching you like a hawk. They are astute. 70% of all communication is non-verbal, which means it doesn't matter what you tell them. It's what you do that they will become. There's a famous Montessori quote, what you are, they will become. So if you want your children to be polite, be polite. If you want them to read for pleasure, if you're deciding, well, I'm going to have quiet reading in my class. Everybody quiet reading, right now, silence, it's quiet reading time. That won't work. If you take a book and you sit in the corner and read your own book for pleasure and say to your children, we're going to have half an hour now to do whatever we like. I'm just going to read my book over here. I'm in the middle of a novel, it's a really good novel. Just watch. A week later, every single child will be reading for pleasure during that time. Because you are their hero. They're looking at you, I want to be like Miss, I want to be like Sir. What you are, they will become. You cannot be angry. You cannot shout. You can't humiliate. I can't stand here and say, by the way, do this, and then get him up the front and publicly humiliate him. Because that's not practicing what I preach. It's not being the exemplar. And that's your job. You have to remember that. But you also have to remember that if you haven't guided your parents on how to be that, you are never going to win. If you're telling your children, we keep people's secrets, but you don't keep them. You gossip in the staff room. You talk behind people's backs. The children are going to see that. They're going to understand that my teacher's telling me one thing, but doing another. There's a really famous one. If you want your classroom to be quiet, just start whispering. Just start whispering. Hey guys, so this week we're going to, and your children are like, oh my goodness. So that's what we do. We whisper in this room. And the classroom will become very quiet very quickly. H is for hands-on. Dutchy. Here's a really hard challenge for you. Can you make every lesson you teach from now on, can you make it a chance for children to be able to touch something that's going to inspire them? I'll give you an example in a second. Here's the freaky picture I was telling you about. It's going to scare you a bit. Don't worry, it's not a real child. Don't be scared, okay? Don't have nightmares down here. This is a diagram called homunculus. It was devised a long time ago, but it was researched recently by a group of Harvard researchers on child cognitive development. And what they wanted to do, they took 17,000 children, and they wanted to see the organs of the human body that had the biggest impact on cognitive development with children between 0 and 13 years of age. So check this out. After 17,000 children, they devised this model And this model shows you the ratio of the organs in correlation with the cognitive effect on a child. So, to make it simple, which parts of your body help you learn the most? Firstly, I cannot see the ears. Can you see the ears? So if you're standing talking for 7 hours, you've failed. They haven't learned hardly anything. The eyes, look, they're not too big. So if you're making them look at things, that's okay, but not great. Check out the mouth. You let your children talk all day, a lot of learning will take place. But the best thing is look at those hands. Look at the size of them. So the research tells you, if you let your children touch stuff, things that are linked to the thing you want to teach them, they will remember it. And here's an example for you. I had a teacher at my school who was teaching the evolution of man, showing how men have changed over the ions, not men, but men and women, human beings. And he wanted to talk about how fish had moved from the ocean to the land, how they'd evolved, whether you believe it or not. He wanted to teach this lesson. So what did he do? No YouTube video, no textbook, no worksheets, nothing. But he had a fish on every table. A rainbow trout, a huge fish he bought from the market. It was covered with a tea towel. He said to the children, we're going to learn about how fish have evolved from the ocean to the land. He did the lesson. He said, now, reveal what is under your tea towel. And they took the tea towel. Every child, oh my goodness me, it's a full fish. Huge. With eyes and gills and everything. He said, feel free to touch it, everybody. Children were, oh, goodness me, oh, touching the eye and stroking the gills and looking inside. Every single child that day went home. The next morning, I had so many emails from parents, oh my goodness, my children came home and told me all about the evolution of fish, the most amazing thing in the world. They said they touched a fish's eyeball. And they did. We didn't throw the fish away, we cooked them. And we had a huge feast with the fish to teach them sustainability. Then we took the bones, we put them on an examination table so the kids can study them later. We didn't throw anything away. But because they could touch, have you touched the eyeball of a fish? But if you did, you would remember. Whatever the teacher tried to teach you, you would definitely remember it that day. And so that is your challenge. Very hard. But actually your answer is in nature. If you're teaching botany, get some leaves. Just get some leaves out of the garden and put them on the table. So today we're going to learn about leaves. Some leaves on the table. Feel free to touch them. Cut them. Look inside them. Squeeze them. They will remember everything you said. It's proven. Neuroscience tells you it's a fact. I is independence, your ultimate goal. Your ultimate goal. Grades, points, scores, percentages, rankings, blah, 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 blah. Garbage. Independence is what you want. You have an independent child, you have won the battle. That's what you want. And when your children become independent, they don't need you anymore. And when they don't need you, you can observe them. When you observe them, you will see who they really are and what they can really do. When you're standing at the front all day talking, you can't see any skills being developed. And so I've made this for you. This is the golden nugget. Took me a very long time to make. If you take anything today, you take this, especially for your school. I did some research on the top 40 essential skills that the biggest companies on the planet looked for in their new employees. They didn't look for points, scores, grades, percentages, or rankings. They looked for skills. So I listed all 40 of them in a document. It's a 4-page document with activities for you to do in your school. Each of the weeks, we focus on one skill. Look at week number 1, humility. Looking at humility. Now the interesting thing about these skills is you cannot teach them. They're impossible to teach. But you can discuss them and focus on them in your classroom and then reflect upon them. For example, if you want your children to be confident, you cannot teach confidence. Today we're going to learn about confidence. Here's a test. Well done, you are now confident. Grade A. Doesn't work. You have to let them try new things that week and fail. And then try again and have determination and then develop confidence and talk about it. How do you feel now you're confident? There was a time I could not speak in front of anybody. And now over practice and time again, it just becomes something that you do. You become confident in that. So I made this document for you. 40 skills, 40 weeks. in Indian regulation, you must go to school 220 weeks a year, 220 days a year. That's 40 weeks. So you've got one for each week. And as a school, if you decide next week we're going to start with humility, as an entire school, from kindergarten all the way through to grade 12, at the beginning of the week, hello everybody, this week's focus is humility. If you see humility in action this week, please let me know. Let's talk about it. What was it? How did you see it? How did it make you feel when you saw it? Well, I saw Thomas over there, did this amazing piece of work. He put it on the wall. He didn't mention to anybody. He stood back. I could see he was proud, but he was really, really humble. Thank you so much for reflecting upon that. And you have it as a school focus. You send it home to your families. So they're talking about it at the dinner table, or when they're in the mosque, or when they're in the car. So you're developing these skills in the community continuously. J is for joy. Of course, joy is very, very important. In a minute, I'm going to stop talking. I'm nearly halfway through, so you can do some reflection. Do they have an enthusiasm? Your children need to feel that they are coming to school every day happy and leaving happy. That's your main objective. Are they running to school? I can't wait to get to class. And when they're leaving school, I really don't want to go. I want to stay at school. How do you do it? Well, you bring your passion into school. You're a human being, aren't you? Yes. You've got your own hobbies, your own passions, things you love, things you like. Yes, you're a teacher, but you're also a human too. Bring your personality into school. Because if you are coming in as a human who's happy, your children will be happy too. They will see the enthusiasm in you. And the reason I've got a snail here is I'm really interested in vertebrae and insects. I've just traveled the world studying them. So I'll tell you how this works. I had some children in my class and I was teaching them about insects. So instead of getting a textbook, watching a YouTube video, I chose my favorite insect. I said to the children, and I'll say it to you, today we're going to learn about insects. I'm going to tell you about my favorite insect. Kids are like, ooh, my teacher has a favorite insect? I didn't know teachers liked things, or went shopping, or went to the toilet. I saw two kindergarten children say, oh, I saw the teacher going to the toilet. And one child said, no, teachers don't go to the toilet. So, prove to them you're human. We're going to learn about snails today. I'm going to teach you about snails now. I'm going to inspire you. Did you know that snails have 17,000 teeth, more teeth than any creature on the planet? Pretend I have a snail on the table here that I got from the garden, okay? You know that snails suffer from anxiety, really bad anxiety. When they're anxious, they go in their shell. Now look at my snail. You will see, I don't have a snail by the way, but if I did, you're already interested, I can see, there's not even a snail. But if there was, the kids are like, okay, see, look at my snail. When he starts to feel less anxious, he'll put one antenna out and start to sense vibrations, because that's what they do. And if there's too many vibrations, he won't come out. And it'll be sound vibrations from your voice. And when they feel there's no vibrations, they're less anxious, and they'll put their head out, and then it will start to move. Children will say, okay. And then they're watching. And then you've got them interested. And you tell them, did you know snails are pollinators, just like bees? In fact, snails pollinate as many plants as bees do. Without bees, we'd all die. Without snails, we'd all die. Don't ever stand on one again. When you see one crossing the road, make sure it gets to its destination. Without snails, you would never be able to taste beetroot. Children are like, oh my goodness, that's insane. I can't believe that's a thing. Did you know only female snails leave a trail? The male snails follow a trail. And the female snails leave it on purpose. It's got a scent. Just like ladies wear perfume sometimes and say, please, notice me. And she'll say, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. And once the child said, sir, its antenna's coming out. He said, that's right, be quiet. And then the snail comes out and starts to walk and leaves a trail. No textbook, no YouTube video. And then you say to the children, would you like to touch the snail? We've got to be careful. Would you like to stroke its shell? Now let's put it back out in the garden because we respect nature. Now, you say to the children, now what would you like to learn about insects? Sir, why are ants so strong? Great question. I don't know the answer, but I'll write it down. Little child. Sir, when bees sting you, do they really die? I have no idea, but let me write that down. The children are then writing their own research questions. You say, off you go. The answer's in this room somewhere. In the library, in the iPad, in the computer, in your peers, in me, in the principal, next door in the other classroom. I don't know. You've got 45 minutes. We're going to meet and you're going to teach me one of these questions, the answer to them. And you bring your own passion in and then you let the children decide on their passion. And it's very simple to do. No textbook, no YouTube video, no Oxford University pressing. You had to buy 1,000 copies of it. It cost you $10,000. None of that. But every single kid was inspired. And even I can see you, you're like, oh, this is interesting stuff. It's interesting. And you can do that if you're passionate about it. So bring your own joy in, and your students will find it very interesting. You can tell, I'm interested in it, so now you are. And you'll remember, ooh, 17,000 teeth, I didn't know that. Anxiety? Wow, that's amazing. K is for kindness. You have to be kind. You've got to be kind. You're a teacher. You didn't come to be a teacher so you can have rules and get out, stand up, how dare you? You are so insolent and rude. That's not why you did this job. Show kindness, you get kindness back. You see another teacher who's not being kind, have a word with them. I don't think you're being kind. I don't think you're modeling the behavior you wish to view in your children. How to get it? A really good way is having circles in your class. Montessori has these things called circle time every day, the beginning and the end of the day, regardless of the age. If you're 20, you have a circle time. If you're 2, you have a circle time. And in that circle time, you talk about kindness. You talk about empathy. You talk about love. It's all in the Quran anyway. We know it. The messages in the Quran are fantastic. You can even incorporate it into these times. But having a circle time where everybody had a chance to speak, very important in your classroom. And as for learning, a love of learning, we've all heard it. We've heard a love of learning. We've heard a child-centered approach. Let me show you, if I may, how to get it. And some of you may think, oh my goodness, he's about to say something which I do every day. So there's 2 types of learning that you can do. This one's the failing one, so just to be clear. There's product-driven learning. This really looks good, but it's really bad. Today we're going to make a mouse. It's creative art time. We're going to make a mouse, everybody. On your table there's a paper plate. I already cut it out for you. I chose the colour. There's some string for the whiskers. I've cut the string out for you, or it's already 3 centimeters. Don't worry, I've done that. There's a circle for the nose. Don't worry, I've done that for you. It's pink. I got my secretary to do that for you. The eyes I bought from the shop. They're googly eyes. And the ears are made of triangles, and I've cut them out for you. All you need to do is stick it all together. Let me show you. First of all, we're all going to take the pink nose. We're going to stick it on. We're going to do. It's a recipe. It's garbage. Every child goes home that night with a mouse. Mum says, oh, what a beautiful mouse. I love you, my little, so successful. What she doesn't know is everybody got the same mouse. There's no creativity, no uniqueness, no individuality, absolute garbage. No point in doing this. What you should do is this. It's called process-driven learning, where you say, we're going to make a mouse. I don't care what your mouse looks like. But you do know that mice need a nose, they need some whiskers, they need some ears and a body and some legs. Off you go, guys. Everything in the room is a yes. Use all the materials you wish, and we'll meet in 45 minutes. Let's show each other what our mouses look like. Every child has a different mouse. It might not look like the perfect mouse, but there is a lot of learning taking place. Problem solving, critical thinking, experimentation, confidence, determination. That's what will happen in that process. It may not look so good when they put it on the fridge at home, but it's more successful, 100% more successful. So avoid this at all costs. Although it looks successful, and you may think, I'm a really organized teacher. I cut everything out, I prepared everything perfectly. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can't make an omelette until you smash some eggs. And the children need to do that too. So moving from product to process, very important indeed. So M is for modeling behavior. This comes to you, we've talked about this before. You have to be what you want them to become. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. On the left is me. On the right is some of my students. When I was school principal, I started building schools in the Himalayas. I've built 10 schools now. But after building one, it was a bit tricky. I'm finding it really hard because I was finding it hard to raise the money, I was finding it hard to get all the materials, and there was only one of me. So I turned to this boy on the right, and I said to him, hey, I wonder if you can help me. By the way, he's only 7. I said, I've got this school I have to build in Nepal, and there's 500 children, and I don't have enough money to build it. I don't have any resources or materials. I wonder if you have any ideas. And he said, Gavin, I don't now, but I'll think about it. And I did this on purpose. The next day, he came to my office. This is my office, with this suitcase. And he said, Gavin, I went to my house, And I've got everything in my cupboards, which I didn't need. And I've got an old suitcase, and I put everything in the suitcase with my sister, and you can take these to Nepal if you wish. I said, thank you so much. I said, let's put it outside my office in the corridor. 2 weeks later, I had 40 suitcases, $25,000, filled with clothes, books, shoes, everything you can dream of. Because I asked him if he can help. I didn't tell them what to do. And he inspired the entire school. So I flew to Nepal, I built a school. We opened a school, I'll show you in a second. This boy, this is his first ever picture. He'd never seen a piece of paper. Sounds hard to imagine, but it's true. He'd never seen any colored pencils. That's his first ever picture, ever. I was there. And I came back to that boy on the right. And I said, remember those pencils? He's holding them up. Remember those pencils you gave me? There's a boy in the Himalayas who drew his first ever picture because you gave me those pencils. And he said, I want to do it again. I said, sure, I need your help every time from now on. And it's for nature. Bangalore's full of trees, beautiful place. Lots of green everywhere you look. Lots of animals, monkeys, everything. Gorgeous. Can you bring it into your classroom? Montessori said, if you can't take the child to the world, bring the world to them. Go to your classroom tomorrow. Do you have any plants in your classroom? If you don't, you need to get some. And I would say, don't go and buy your own plants. Say to the children, hey, isn't this classroom so boring? There's no nature in here. There's no greenery. Does anyone have any plants in their house? One child says, I do. Would you like to bring one in? I'd love to. He brings one in. The next day, I want to bring a plant in too. Suddenly, everybody brings a plant in. It's their job to care for it. It's their job to look after it. Your classroom's filled with greenery. Doesn't matter where it goes. Classroom will be a better place to be. Will look better. Children will develop care. People come to visit. There's plants everywhere. In our office in Bangalore, right in the center, we have an office there. Plants everywhere, all over the place. It's full of computers and plants. But it's a really nice place to be. Give it to the children. If you don't have nature in your room, bring it in. Another good way to do it is incorporate nature into all of your homework tasks. Do not give your children homework tasks where they answer questions on fractions and percentages and writing a letter. They don't want to do that. Who wants to go home after school and fill in a form? Nobody. Not you, and definitely not me. And certainly not your children. Give them a challenge. On the way home, can you spot 5 types of trees? And can you write them down? If you're going out on the weekend, can you find 5 types of butterflies? And tell me about them. There's a million of these. Here's just one example for you. Oh, it's for observation. I'm going to give you a resource in a second. I hope that you take it because it took me a very long time to make. And I think it's really cool. Observation. So when you focus on independence, remember I said look for independence. That's your key driver. Let your children go. Don't keep them with you the whole time. Off you go, guys. When they're gone and they're doing their work, watch them carefully. Don't drink tea and go on your iPhone and look on Facebook. Don't do that. Watch your kids. See who's doing what. What skills do they have? Is someone showing good leadership? Someone showing good negotiation? Active listening? Look for the skills on the chart in your room when you observe them. And ask your children, did you practice any skills today? This is the thing I was telling you. I think if you take anything, take this. Because it's called the observation wheel. I made it up actually. And around the edge you will see there's the 40 skills. Care, equity, bravery, empathy, love, equality, motivation. And you say to your children at the end of the day, just before they go home, hi guys, we're just about to head home now. We've got 5 minutes left. Take out your observation wheel and turn to the person next to you and talk about any of the skills that you tried to show today. And if you showed it today, color in one segment. So you say, I turn to you and say, look, I think I tried to show bravery today because I was asked to talk at this conference and I was feeling nervous, but I did it. You say, Gavin, yep, you should definitely color one in, and I color in one section of bravery. And so your children get to say, hey, I'm developing as a human being, I'm developing my skills. It's not a test, there's no percentages, no scores, nothing. They have this in their folder, they take it out each day, they color in one section, and you can see where they're thriving and where they're struggling. P is for your prepared environment. Now before I continue, just to let you know, you have been keeping your eye on the circle in the bottom right, yes? You've been learning your alphabet. Don't forget there's a test. I hope you've been looking, right? No? Uh-oh, you're going to be going to the principal's office. Oh, so your prepared environment, okay? Which means your classroom. Is it prepared? There's nothing better than getting a lesson ready, is there, the day before, and you're like, whoa, I can't wait till the kids come in tomorrow. I'm so excited. I've got this amazing lesson. I've prepared all the materials. It's going to go really well. Imagine if you did that every day. And the way you do it is you say yes to everything. You say to the children, if you have a question, can I move tables? Can I work on the floor? Can I get some card? Can I use the scissors? Can I go to the bathroom? Can I go see the principal? Can I make an appointment? You say, do not waste your time asking me. I'm busy. I'm working with him. The answer is definitely yes. There are some rules. Freedom within limits. You can't climb out the window and run away. That's not a thing. And you can't run with scissors in the classroom. We know that. We've made our classroom culture. But the answer is yes. Please don't ask me. If you need some more card, go and get it. Don't ask me. In fact, I made a t-shirt and it said yes on it in huge letters when I was installing this in my school. And I said, if you have a question, look at my t-shirt, that's your answer. And I'd see kids walking about, oh, yeah, I get it. And they would just leave again because they would know it was yes. So as much as possible, the answer is yes. Can I post a letter to the Prime Minister? Yes. Can I write to the principal? I'm really not happy with the canteen. I'd like more fruit. Yes. You know, it's very important that we give this answer to our children. The answer is yes. Q is for questioning. And we've talked about this already, so we won't go over it twice. But the perfect lesson, the exemplar of a lesson is this. And this is not and by the way, I'm not some educational guru. This is Montessori. I've taken it straight out of her pedagogy. So if you're planning a lesson, you're doing a lesson plan. I don't know if, Aisha, you mandate that teachers should give you a lesson plan, right? I don't know if that's a thing. But if you do have to plan lessons, this is the structure you should be using. Number one, inspire them. Tell them something amazing. Make sure it's the most inspirational thing you can possibly get. If you're telling any subject, make it the most inspirational thing ever. Just like the snail. You make it inspirational, people don't forget it. 100%. Then you ask them the questions. What would you like to know about insects? Bees, ants, spiders? Question. Then release them. Off you go. Off you go. Go away from me. Go and get on with it. The research is in this room. Go, go, go. And then reflect. Then you come back. When you've got the answer, you come back and share it with everybody else. And there's your perfect model. Inspire, question, release, reflect. You do that process over and over again, your life will be easier because you have more time. Your children are more independent and they will learn more fact. It's a fact. 150 years in the making. You know, there's more Montessori schools on the planet than any other type of school. More than any type of Muslim school, Christian school, Catholic school, public school, more Montessori schools than any other one. And this is the process they use. R is for respect. Respect for yourself and respect for them. You can try this, but when I've said this at many schools before and your principal's like, nope, we're not trying that. How about if the children called you by your first name? There's no mom, no sir, no madam, no mister, no doctor. What's your name? What if we called each other just our first names? What if we said to children, hey, look, I'm actually just a human being. I have 17 trillion cells, so are you. So let's just call each other by our first names. Or we'll all be sir, or we'll all be madam. Because I want to make it equal. I want to make it equal here. I want to have respect for you, and I want you to have respect for me. It's not a hierarchy where I'm in charge and I'm the boss. I'll do things wrong, and so will you. We want to make it equal. And I know it works because I had it in my school, where the children, we just called each other by our first names. Gavin, hi. Morning, Thomas. How are you? Yes. They wanted to make an appointment with the principal, no problem. They'd call my secretary. Can I make an appointment with Gavin? I need to meet him about something I'm not happy with. And 6-year-old be coming in and complaining about the toilets being dirty or the playground, having no play equipment on it. So having this beautiful equilibrium in your school, it sounds really hard, right? Oh no, culturally we can't do that. But if you try it, if you're willing to try this, I promise you, you will see something ridiculous happen. The children will realize, whoa, I'm equal. And they are equal to you. Who cares? You're an adult. You're older. You're bigger. Still a human, and so are they. So put them on a pedestal next to you, equally, and see what happens. Sounds really hard, this. People are like, oh God, this guy's talking a load of garbage. But I'm only telling you because I've tried this. I'm a school principal, I tried this. And it works. One way you can do it if you want to step out is by empowering the students in your room to have the power to equalize any bad behavior. So if you've ever worked in and you have a Montessori preschool, actually, don't you? You will see that there's something called a peace rose. Have you heard of this, by the way? Have you heard of a peace rose? Yeah. So in a Montessori class, you have this thing called a peace rose, and in the older class, you'll have a peace mat. So let's say me and you, we've got a problem in the class. Me and you, right? You have stolen my pencil. And we're both 6, and I'm saying, you've got my pencil, I've got your pencil. It's my pencil, and we're having this argument in the classroom. Normally the teacher will say, you two, go to the principal, or separate. You move over there, you move over there. You're in big trouble. Recess, you've lost recess. You're being too loud. No fighting in this classroom. You know the rules. No fighting. What if you didn't intervene? What if you left it? But you had some children in your class who were looking for this kind of thing. And when it happened, they stepped in. They said, hey guys, you two are arguing, a bit loud, take the peace rose. And I hold the peace rose and say, not feeling happy because he has stolen my pencil. Give him the peace rose, and he says, I didn't know it was your pencil. I said, well, it is my pencil, and I feel upset. I'm going to give your pencil back. Thank you so much. And then peace has happened, and the children go back to their work. And the children regulate it, not you. You stay away from that. Because that's the real world. That's the real world, actually. That's what happens. If you're in the staff room and you're complaining about somebody else and bad-mouthing them, people aren't going to like you. That's the way the world works. There's not going to be Aisha coming in saying, you've done something wrong, nobody likes you, you're gossiping too much. The world doesn't work that way. S is for socialization. Chatting, moving, talking, arguing, debating, having a conversation. Does that happen in your classroom? Or is it a place of silence? Is there going to be cooperative experiences? If you have a quiet classroom, it's a failing classroom. So if your classroom is quiet all the time, it's failed. We know that now. Remember the picture of homunculus? If those mouths are not moving and there's not talking, you have just failed a great deal. You need to make your classroom as close to the real world as possible. Whatever's happening out there in the street, whatever happens in the street needs to happen in your classroom because that's what you're preparing them for, to go into the real world. They're not going to go into a world where it's fingers on lips and the principal's coming and now everybody sit down and stand up and march around the playground like this. If they're going in the army, then you're doing a great job. But they're not going in the army. T is for trust. Building trust, fundamental part of purposeful approach. What do? To get trust, you listen to your students. You tell them that they matter. Let's build some trust now between the person next to us. Here's an activity. Sorry, I've been talking for a very long time. I apologize. Here's what you're going to do. This is called an active listening activity, and you can do it because you've got partners here, so this is perfect. So you're going to turn to the person next to you, find a partner quickly, find someone who will, Sri, you can talk to this guy, you've got 4 there. You're going to turn to the person next to you. One person's going to listen. By the way, you have to do this. You can't just chat. You have to do this. You're going to turn to the person next to you, and one person is going to talk for 3 minutes. And they're going to tell them about a time when they felt scared, the most scared. To tell the full story. Now, the person listening is not going to interrupt, raise an eyebrow, smile, say yes, nothing. They're just going to listen very carefully to every single word. And when they finish talking, you're going to tell them their story back in summary in 1 minute. Does that make sense? So I'll talk for 3 minutes about when I felt scared. You will listen carefully when I finished, and not until I finished, you will then repeat my story back to me in summary in 1 minute. Does that make sense? Sure? Okay, off you go. Brother, you're working with her. Perfect. You never get upset. You never make mistakes. You are 100% all the time. You are not showing true human being. Let them know you are human. If you are late to class and the children are waiting, apologize to them. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. I was locked in the toilet, or whatever it was. Tell them the truth. Well, don't always tell them the truth. Tell them the truth as much as possible. Show them that it's okay to be human. Make that connection. Showing vulnerabilities, telling them things that you're scared about, lets them know it's okay to be scared. I didn't know that. I didn't know teachers were scared. Surely teachers don't get scared. They don't go to the toilet. If they do get scared, I'm going to tell you about how I feel sometimes. So you is seeking to understand. This is a really cool diagram that I love. It looks really simple, but it's really important. At the top, you've got teachers, you. Differentiation, you know, is a key word. You can differentiate the content. You can say what you're going to teach. You can differentiate the process. You can differentiate the product. What am I going to say? What's going to happen? And what's the result? At the bottom, these are your goals for your students. You want growth, you want efficiency, and you want motivation. That's what you want. The middle bit is the bit that you need to take heed of, because this is the hard part. Are your children ready for what you're about to teach them? If they're not ready, you don't teach it. Because if you teach someone who is not ready, they will not take anything in, and therefore you'll just build a level of anxiety and discord within your class, because, you know, if I start speaking to you in French and you don't speak French, you'll suddenly feel disengaged because I'm not meeting your needs. You're not ready for that. Number 2, interests. Do you know the interests of your children? What gets them going? By the way, what do you love? What's your most passionate thing in the world? This guy loves football, right? So if ever, and your favorite team is? His favorite team is Liverpool. So if ever he is disengaged in class, feeling sad, feeling lonely, something is happening, I now know how to get him. I know what's called his hook. His hook is Liverpool. If he's losing interest in mathematics, we just go and look at the last 20 scores in a Liverpool football game. He researches them and adds them together. Now he's interested. Can you find me all the ages of every Liverpool player, add them up, and find the average age? He'll definitely do that. Because I know his hook. His hook is Liverpool. My hook is insects. Do you know your children's hook? You'll only know it by talking to them and by listening to them, just like we listen to each other then. This is a good way to know your students really easily. You can do this tomorrow. You give them this sheet of paper and it says, introducing me. And they draw their picture and they write their name and they tell you their favorite food, their favorite animal, their favorite sport, football. They tell you what friendship is, so you know straight away what friendship means to them. They tell you their hobbies, their future job, and their best friend. You have this information in a folder, you always know their hook. If I asked him to fill it in, and he ever became disengaged with learning, I just turn to this, and I can get him straight back into his learning cycle. Because I can see what he loves. If his future job is a pilot, I know how to get him back involved in mathematics. We go and look at the dimensions of a 747 jumbo jet, and we design one together, and he's back. I've got him. I give him a worksheet on something which I chose, which not is interesting to him, and I've lost him. So do you know your students? We're getting there. We're nearly at the end of the alphabet. V is for variety. Can you offer a variety of learning experience with your children? Different materials, different styles. Here are some different things that you can do, and here's an interesting part. Remember the lesson I talked about where we said to the students, what questions do you have about insects? They put their hands up and I said, off you go. Remember that part I said, off you go? Well, when you say off you go, you must say this to your children. I don't mind how you represent your work. I'm not going to tell you to write a report. Here are some examples. You can draw an illustration. You can create a poster or a chart. You can make a model, a sculpture. You can perform a skit or a play. You can do a digital presentation in Canva. You can have a graphic organizer, a role play, design an infographic, a collage, audio, visual, write a report, write a letter, draw a picture, do a diagram, paint a piece of art, whatever you want. I don't mind. How you show me your work, it's still work. And you still met the needs of the curriculum. It doesn't always work, but majority of the time it does. W is for well-being. fostering physical, emotional, and social well-being in your class. This cannot be something that you do on a Thursday afternoon. It's well-being time, yay! No, well-being is a continuum. It must be all the time, continuously. There are so many ways you can do this to foster well-being in your class. This is just a challenge I set you, a 7-day self-care challenge. If you want to practice well-being in your school tomorrow, take this to your class and say, hi guys, this week we're going to take care of our well-being. We're all going to do it. I am included in this journey. I'm going to set you a challenge. Can you see them? We're going to try to do 10 minutes of yoga every day. We're going to try to sleep 1 hour earlier this week. So if you go to bed at 9, we're going to try to go to bed at 8. And remember in the morning when you have circle time? How's it going, guys? Gavin, I went to bed an hour earlier. How do you feel? I actually feel a lot better. I feel great. I've got a lot more energy. And so you go on the journey with your children. Whatever you want them to do, you do it yourself. And you say to your children, look, I really wanted to go to bed an hour earlier, but I didn't. I was watching a film, I failed. Oh, you failed? It's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. But we're all trying. So well-being is not something you can just do on a Thursday afternoon when you do yoga time. It's got to be something continuous. And what's important is you have to be involved in the process. X, there's not many words starting with X, apart from xylophone, which didn't really work. So I chose exploration. Can you explore in your classroom? A solution to encouraging exploration in your room is a wonderful Montessori process called practical life. Who's heard of practical life? Anybody? One person, okay. So this is going to be really cool for you. So you have this on your wall in your classroom. It's called a practical life checklist. And you have a list. I made you a list. By the way, it's already made. If you want it, you can have it. You can also make your own if you wish. On this list, there are 100 things that you can do. They're in the curriculum, but they're also about learning how to be a human being. So your child finishes his story. He's finished his work. He's finished his writing, and he wants to come and show you. But you're busy. You're working with a child. The child's got 20 minutes left before the end of the lesson. What do? In most schools, they give them an extra worksheet, a fast finishers. You've done a really good job, now do more work. The child says, well, I don't want to do more of this work. I've just finished it. Nobody wants to do that. Imagine if you've written your lesson plan and you go to show Aisha, hey, here's my lesson plan. She says, that's great. Do another one. But I've already done it. You do it quickly, you do it well, so you can do something else. But I was going to go to the park. No, do another lesson plan. That's what it feels like for a child. What if there was a corner in your room where they had a practical life corner? And over there was some plant pots and some soil. Well, this is outside in the corridor. There was things that they could go and do that were practical, hands-on. They made the world better, but they were in the curriculum, hidden in there. I've made you the list. Stick it on your wall, see if you can achieve them. Let your children tick them off when they finish their work until all 100 are complete, and then put a new list up. Let them decide what the list is. Y is for you. Teachers. You need to be proud of who you are. You're a teacher. In Islam, I know, teacher is God. You are the voice. You educate the children on the way to going to Jannah. I know this, right? So you are very high in the hierarchy. You have to make sure that you know how important you are as a teacher. This isn't some job where it doesn't matter. This is a job that really matters. Your children are going to be inspired by you and become something great because of you. So hold your head up high. I've written a quote about this. Teachers are the catalysts of change, shaping the world one student at a time with unwavering dedication. They ignite minds, nurture dreams, and unlock potential. They empower the future generation with knowledge, compassion, and resilience. As architects of learning, they construct bridges to new horizons, fostering curiosity, critical thinking. Teachers embody hope, guiding the path towards a brighter tomorrow. Their impact transcends classrooms, leaving an indelible mark on the world. They are the guardians of progress, forging for a better future through education. And that ultimately is your job description. It doesn't say it in your contract, but that's what you are. The future is in your hands. And so you decide what it looks like. And Z is for Zen. Having a place of calm. Is there a time in your classroom where you just stop everything? And you don't speak, and you don't talk, and nothing happens, and you think and contemplate. By the way, the opposite of what we've done this morning. Just been talking for 1 hour. Now, here's where you get to have a conversation. Every successful company, organization, human being, person has reflection, what's called critical reflection. If you are comfortable, if you have decided, hey, I'm a teacher, I've got my degree, I'm just going to do this for the next 30 years, I'm going to do exactly what I've been doing the last 5 years for the next 30 years. Failure. That's a fact. You've got to keep moving forward. You've got to keep improving. You've got to keep getting better because the world is changing and so must we. So, I would like you to have a conversation with the person next to you, just 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Turn to them and tell them, from the A to Z we've just gone through, what things are you doing well already that we've listed? You're like, I'm doing these things really well. Like, be proud. Don't worry about talking yourself up. You're very good. Talk about the things you're doing well, but then talk about the things that you're not doing well and you're going to do better. It's very important that you do that. And if you're on this table here with the executives, talk about it as a school. Okay, what can we do? And if it's only tomorrow I'm going to let the children bring plants into the classroom, if that's it, then that's enough. Doesn't matter. But what are you doing well? Be proud, have a discussion. What are you going to try to do better? And that's the most important part. Okay, you've got 3 or 4 minutes, off you go. I'll come around to see what you're up to.
Let's go one by one.
Okay, hello, how are you?
Devise some kind of person or something like that, then also some kind of action. If I say this is just one thing, then now it's all a bit complicated. Let the class take care of it. Rather than let's say, what would you address the
Okay, everybody. Thank you. I know that you are dying for a cup of tea, and thank you for your patience. I'm also English, so I'm dying for a cup of tea too. I won't take more of your time. 20 minutes is all I will take, and then we'll go and have a cup of tea or a coffee, okay? It's simply because we started late. There was lots of beautiful messages at the beginning, but that's not a problem. I have to leave at 11:45, that's why. I'm going to another school. Okay, so about 4 months ago, Aisha and your team of executives here, I contacted them and said, would you like me to help you change your school into a purposeful school? Do something that's really amazing in the world and change the world. You're a Muslim school. So I know Islam. I worked in an Islamic school for 10 years. I can recite the Quran if you wish. You know, I learned how to do the halakha in the morning. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahman. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I know about Islam, a beautiful religion about changing the world and being a wonderful human being. You know the news, it portrays Islam as terrible. We know it's not. What's really important about it is shining the light of our students and their good work in the world and using education to do that. So I'm going to show you something now. And it's a journey you're going to start very soon as a school. And I want to show you how it works. We're going to be working together for a year. So I'm going to become a very good friend of yours. And if you need anything, you just come to me, and if I can help, I will. We're going to do something together, but let me be clear about this. What we're about to do is free of charge. There's no charge, it's completely cost-free. I'm coming here free of charge. We're about to do this journey free of charge. I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm not a salesman. But I really want to work with your school because I respect your school. And we have a chance of doing something really amazing right in the middle of India, and everybody can see it. And so your school will become this beacon, which I'm really hoping will happen. So this is my company, Up School. I quit my job. I'll tell you now how it went. In 2021, after the pandemic, I was teaching the kids in my school in Australia remotely. This lesson on the left is a lesson on photosynthesis. I had my camera, we all did this. On the right-hand side, I'm reading a story at home in the evening to children before they go to bed. Okay, every day, for 2 years. This was a nightmare. But what I learned in those 2 years is the internet is a powerful tool if you use it correctly. Now, I was a school principal of a very prestigious school, and I quit. I went to my board and I said, I'm leaving. And they said, you can't leave, you're the school principal, you're the Montessori ambassador. I said, I'm sorry, I've discovered something really big that I want to do, and if I don't do it, I'll die unhappy that I didn't try it. So I've tried it, and I'm going to tell you it's working, and I want you to be involved, because it will be really cool if we do this together. This is my team. Jake, Richard, and I are all teachers. This is Sri. He's one of our editors here in Bangalore. And we have a team of people all around the world working on this mission. It's a mission of upschool. Up because it's in the cloud, in the sky, it's digital. Everybody can access it. Completely free of charge. We provide a school of the future. The NEP 2020 in India says you must teach SDG 13 and all the other SDGs. We're going to help you do that. NEP is quite tricky to achieve. All of our work we're about to do is aligned with the NEP exactly. There's no extra work for you. I've done all the work. I've written the curriculum, I've written your lesson plans, I've planned the lessons, I've made your worksheets, made your task cards, I've done everything. All you have to do is come on the journey with us. And let me sell you the journey and see if you're interested. I'm pretty sure you will be. In every single course that we're about to do, there's teacher training from me. You don't need it if you don't want, but it's there if you would like it. Recorded in this is my house. I have a tiny little house in Australia. Houses are very expensive. I live in 60 square meters, like a garage. But I made it into a little studio, and I do teacher training for you, if you wish, free of charge, aligned with every single lesson. In the last year, the team and I have traveled to the North Pole, to the South Pole, to the Himalayas, Costa Rica, Dubai. We've been everywhere. And we've done it to try to bring the world's biggest problems, the most inspirational things into your school. So if you are living in Nepal, if you're a child living in Nepal, you will probably never see the ocean or hear a wave. Never. It's very sad. Never see the ocean. 70% of the world is ocean. You'll never see it. But in their curriculum, we teach them about ice caps and polar bears and saving the planet and climate change. They don't care. They've never seen the ocean. So our objective was to go to the most remote locations in the world and bring all of that learning to you. So we traveled all around the world, and we recorded lessons on polar bears, humpback whales, glaciers, climate change. We went to Costa Rica and found sloths in the rainforest, and we recorded all of the lessons, hundreds of them. This guy in the green t-shirt edited every single one. He works 24 hours a day. He's a total legend, by the way. So that, yes, thank you, Sri. He's very embarrassed. He said, don't mention me, but I am. So that your children can be inspired, just like you were inspired about the snail a few minutes ago. Just imagine this. I'm teaching a lesson. Hello, everybody. This week we're learning all about apex predators. And where that board is, there's a polar bear in the lesson, standing up. It's very inspirational. But the key driver is for the children to have empathy to change the world. So we partnered with lots of different charities around the world. You might know some of these. I will tell you one charity for a reason. The charity down here, the John Fawcett Foundation, right? They get children in Indonesia who are blind, and they restore their eyesight for $30. So for $30, a blind child can see again, right? It's pretty amazing. All of these organizations do amazing things. I'll tell you why. I explain that to you in a second. We have a lot of courses. I've written all the courses, and the courses are for you to run in your school, in your classroom, with your children. There's no extra work at all. Let me explain one of the courses to you. You see this course up here, Be the Change, in the middle at the top. In this course, children choose an SDG. They choose it. There's 17 SDGs, as you know. They choose one. They get into a group, and they decide, in our SDG, we're taking on zero hunger, climate change, life underwater. And they work on this process with me over 10 weeks of doing something meaningful and purposeful in the world and impactful. And we give the choice to them. And we let them take on huge challenges. Things that you might think are impossible are not, and I'm going to prove it to you in a minute. We've been running this for 15 months. We have about 250,000 children come to school now. That's 250,000. We just had 100,000 children sign up in India this week because it's free and it's good. But I want you to be involved. I want your school to be part of it. I'll tell you about 3 courses, and I'll show you a video, and we'll finish, okay? We'll finish with a real inspiration. This course is called Write a Book to Change the World. I'm a children's author. So I wrote a 10-week course so every single one of your children, and you, if you wish, I'm sure some of you have thought, I'd like to be a children's author. I know I did. I've written a course, 10 weeks, so that every single child in your school can be a published author, a real published author. Look at that boy. He's holding his own book. That's Divyam Malpani from Calcutta. He's 13. He wrote a book with me. He illustrated it digitally in Canva. You all get a free Canva account, Canva Pro, every teacher, every child in your entire school. He wrote that book, took him 10 weeks, everybody in his school did, and when he published it, a pop-up appears on the website. It says, Divyam, where would you like the profits to go if somebody buys a copy of your book? We print it, we ship it, all of that. He chose the John Fawcett Foundation, which is a charity in Indonesia that saves children who are blind and restores their sight. He sold 30 copies of his book in the first day. I met him on Zoom, and I told him, you've just restored 20 children who were blind in Indonesia, 20,000 kilometers away from you. They can see now, because you wrote a story. And he started crying. He started crying in the meeting. I said, why are you crying? He said, I need to go and write another story. Because suddenly the curriculum, we all write stories in our classroom, but the curriculum became purposeful, became real. He chose, hey, I want to save children in Indonesia who are blind. I want to save them, but I still want to do my work. I want to write a story still. He wrote the story, and then children were saved, which is amazing. And all the charities do amazing work, and the children get to choose. They don't have to do something different. Writing stories is in literacy in every classroom in your school. So you could take this course, and every child could be a published author. We have thousands and thousands of stories. They'll make you cry. They'll make you cry a lot. I will read them and I'm just crying, because they're so beautiful. That's one course. Another course, Be the Change, which I would love your school to do, by the way, I just want to say that. Children choose an SDG. All your children in your school are working collectively to take on huge challenges, and we guide them on all of that. You might think, what will they do? You know, they're only kids. These children here, they wrote to a prominent politician. They said, we need some land. This politician got 6,000 letters from every kid in the school. This is in Nasik in India. 6,000 kids wrote a letter each to a politician. He gave them the land, 1 acre of land, because he got 6,000 handwritten letters from 6,000 passionate children. Writing persuasive letters is in your curriculum. Persuasive devices, emotive language, it's in your curriculum. I know it is, I've read it. What if they wrote a letter that was going to change the world? He gave them the land. They then wrote another 6,000 letters to a diamond dealer, a billionaire. We need some money to buy some saplings. He gave them enough money to buy 25,000 saplings. I flew to Nasik, and they planted their own forest. And I said to one girl, how will you know when this forest is a success? And she said, we've never seen a bird here. When the first bird arrives, we've succeeded. And she said, we've already started a bird watching club to see when the first bird comes. Persuasive writing, not for a tick, not for a point, not for a score, because the world gets better. Do you understand? So Divyam wrote a story, children who were blind could see. These children wrote a letter, birds weren't in their ecosystem, birds had arrived. Number 3, and I'll show you a video and we'll stop after that. This course is filmed in the Arctic. This is all about climate change, which is a big problem here in India. The country's getting hotter. It's really unbearable to live here. Your children get a chance to take this on. All the lessons are filmed from the Arctic in front of polar bears and walruses, and it's amazing. It was amazing to be there. I'll come back to the video in just a second. We'll do that at the very end. So, finally, your test. Did you learn sign language over the last 1.5 hours? What does it say? It does say thank you. It's very easy test, yes. It says thank you, yes, you're right, thank you. It's very easy. You haven't failed, really. You haven't failed at all, in fact. So let's go back. If you could, madam, if you don't mind, is there sound? Now, just before I play this, let me tell you, this is a school in Mumbai, in Nasik, India. You know Nasik, up in the wine region where the wine comes from? They have a rural school in the middle of nowhere. They did this course, Be the Change. I really want your school to do it, because then what I want to do is you will take it on. Something amazing will happen, I know, because I know the leader of your school is an amazing lady with amazing teachers. And then I will come back with Sri and we'll make a film like this about your school. How does that sound? Yeah? Well, you haven't seen the film yet. You might hate it. Second thing to promise you, this is a promise. Second thing to say is that in November the 21st, we're having a conference, a children's conference, run by children, with children. No adults are speaking. 0 adults. 1 million children are coming to that conference. We ran it last year, we'll run it this year. Barack Obama is going to be the keynote speaker and the head of the United Nations. We are looking for schools to be the keynote speakers. Not you, your kids. But only schools who've done amazing work, like the school I'm about to show you, will be speaking. I would like your school to be one of the keynote speakers. Now, what you have to do in order for this to work is you have to give your children freedom and say yes. If you try to control this when we do it, it will fail, because your ideas are no good. If it's the children, your ideas are good, but your children are not invested. You let them choose and see what happens. Would you like to see what happens? Okay. Please play the video, madam. You need to make it full screen, by the way. Thank you. Why did you decide to create a school, and a school so wonderful as this one?
I wanted to do something on my own, and which deeply connects to me. I always thought to bring opportunity for children to experience more, to explore, and if they can find their talents and we can help them nurture those talents, and they're able to live their passion. So something on these lines, I would say, that was the thought behind starting the school.
So 6 months ago, we released the course Be the Change on the Upschool platform. Be the Change is designed to allow children to choose an SDG from the United Nations, one that matters to them, and then they embark on this journey where they take on social activities in their community to try to change the world. Your school was one of the pioneers of that course. You were one of the first people to enroll. Why did you choose Be the Change, and what attracted you to the course?
I was looking at opportunity that how do I integrate a project-based learning system in my school. With the new education policy coming, I wanted to have an integrated project where the whole school participates. And on the top of it, I am really keen and passionate about skill-based learning. So to get the ball rolling, I said I came across Be the Change, and I felt that this is it. Let's get started. And it helped me deliver the complete project-based learning experience where students actually towards the end took action, and the action that they took was, they're planting trees in the forest, they are teaching a school that is not well resourced like ours, and they're also, doing a food donation drive, they're delivering food out there, and all of this, my students are happy.
These amazing children around us here have chosen zero hunger, and just down the street there is a school where children don't get fed every single day. In fact, sometimes there is no food for those children. However, these children here at Rise Experiential School have decided that they're going to stop all of that. They collect food, they bring it from their homes, and as you can see, they make sandwiches, and they head down to a school just down the street to help the world become a better place by feeding those who find it very, very hard to get food. Now this one you're doing today is SDG what?
SDG 4, quality education.
Quality education. Every week, or every few weeks, you get these children together.
Yes.
Now, this is not your school, is it?
No, it's not us.
So why are you here?
And we just want to make them aware of the outside world because their thinking is very conservative. So we want to make them more knowledgeable about the outside world.
Right, okay.
So it feels good for me to help them see their satisfying faces. It gives a very different satisfaction that I'm a human being and I'm able to help everyone.
Your children have chosen zero hunger and quality education. One group of children has designed lesson plans within their own school and resources, and another group has made sandwiches and food, and they travel to your school together, and then they visit your school, and when they arrive, one group teaches your children, and then afterwards they all eat food and talk about how healthy that food is. I mean, it's pretty amazing to think that that's happening in the world.
We got connected with our school and SDG goals which were introduced to us through the program which you initiated, Be the Change. From there, leadership quality was developed in them because they started planning the things. It's not only the skill which they develop, but the attitude is also changed. Yes. It's like empathy, sympathy, both the things which are strongly reflected by them.
Now this morning we travelled from Wise Experiential School, we hopped on the bus, we travelled with all of these wonderful saplings to this remote area in India. It's very hot. What are you doing here?
We are planting trees here to provide some shade and habitats for the birds and animals.
I understand you got a sapling loan. You have to give them back.
Yes.
That's amazing. So you didn't take a money loan?
No.
You took a sapling loan?
Yes, we take a tree transaction.
Yeah, a tree transaction?
Yes.
Wow. I love that. Wow, so you're literally planting your own forest?
Yes.
It's amazing to see the work that you're doing here. It's just amazing to see you have this team. And this, in a few months, will be a forest with shade, and birds will be singing, and butterflies will be flying. How will you feel when you return and it looks like that?
So after some time, I'll see the trees are grown, people are sitting, chill, and talk with the other children are playing. I feel so happy that I have planted these trees few years ago that they are grown.
Our students have taken few initiatives with the support of UpSchool. I can see the impact they have created in the society, and at the same time the learning which is going on while doing all these projects is commendable. This week we have been in Nasik in India with Rise Experiential School. And as you know, absolute magic happened in this part of the world. The children here have collected their own food resources. They made sandwiches. They've organized tree plantations, written letters, made phone calls, planted their very own forest, all in the cause of making the world a better place. And I can safely say that this week they have 100% succeeded in making the big blue ball that we all live on a little bit better. Okay, one is, it always makes me cry when the girl says, I'm a human being and I can help everybody else. She's so sweet. But you saw what they accomplished. Different children doing different projects, they decided on what they were doing. And I show you this, not to show off or anything, but to say to you that I would love your school to be part of this journey. There is no hidden catch. There's no sales, there's no cost, there's nothing. But I want to come back to your school with Sri and our film crew and make a film just like that about how good your students are and what they can do in the world, because you're living right in the center of the planet in Bangalore, and you could be an exemplar to all the schools in this country to say, look what we have achieved. And I also would like you to be one of the keynote speakers at the conference in November. But what that means is we need to get started straight away if we're going to do this. So everything is ready for you. Your students have already been enrolled. Every single child in your school has an account. But what it needs is investment from you to say, I'm going to do it. And it doesn't mean you need to choose this course. There is plenty of courses. This course is the most impactful one. You can do 2 courses. You could write a book and be the change going at the same time. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. Everything is self-explanatory, and I'm always accessible. On the website in the bottom right corner, there's a little chat bot. It's not a chat bot, it's actually me. So if you need any help, just write in there and I will write back to you personally. You can't see it now, but on the website when you go there, you can.
Okay, and finally, I'll just say this. I wrote a book, you don't need to worry about it, but if you are interested, I wrote a book called The Potential in Every Child, and it's a Montessori guide for mainstream teachers. So if you're a mainstream teacher and you like everything I said today and you're like, hey, I would love a copy of that. I make no profit, so you buy it from Amazon, but I make zero. It's for sale in India if you want it. I'm not a salesman, so don't worry about this, but if you're interested, you can have it. Okay, we have to wrap it up now. In 5 minutes, I have to go, but I just want to say thank you for having me. You're amazing people, you're exemplary teachers, your leadership team, your executives, your board, thank you for inviting me here. I'm really honored to be associated with your school. I hold it dear in my heart, and I hope that we can be associated in the future. And I pray, inshallah, that your school does something unbelievable so that we have a chance to come back here and make a film just like the one that you've seen. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you so much for surprising us with this visit, I must say, because it was never like a planned thing, and you've been really kind to consider our school, and you just came and gave us such a nice message. There's so much that we're so excited about. We're really excited. I mean, I was excited about the session, but I didn't know what was in store. This is so much more exciting. Inshallah, we're looking forward to that. So now, I just had one question for you. You've inspired my teachers, I'm sure. Now, when do we look forward for you to inspire our students as well? Because that is important as well. So we should talk about it soon. And let's see, inshallah, when we can plan to do that, inshallah.
If it's possible, I will do it.
Yeah, we'll plan for that, inshallah. Okay, thank you so much on behalf of my team and all of us here. Thanks a lot, Gavin. May Allah bless you.